The massive alien ship called Vorthek Prime drifted silently through the dark space between stars. Inside its crystal walls, 12 different alien species gathered around a glowing table. They had done this meeting every 500 years for thousands of years. Today they would decide which dangerous species in the galaxy needed to die. Commander Zephyx stood at the head of the table. His body looked like it was made of living blue crystal that sparkled when he moved. The Nethori race had survived for 10,000 years by being careful about which species they allowed to live. Zephyx touched a control panel and images appeared in the air above the table. "We begin the assessment," Zephyx said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "First species for review, the Brutons of Sector 7. The hologram showed large, muscular creatures with red skin and 4 arms. They carried massive weapons and stood over the bodies of their enemies. War Admiral Kithara nodded with approval. The Zoran Empire had fought the Brutons once and found them worthy opponents. "The Brutons started 3 wars in the last century," Zephyx continued. "They enslaved 6 peaceful species and destroyed 2 entire planets. They show no signs of becoming less violent, all in favor of elimination." 11 hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. Only one member did not vote. Senior Analyst Morpheus, whose ancient race looked like tall shadows with glowing eyes, remained still. "Elimination approved," Zephyx announced. "Mark the Bruton. System for cleansing." The next few hours went the same way. Species after species appeared in the holograms. The chaos spawn of Meridian 7, who could not control their destructive powers. The mind-eaters of the Void Sector, who consumed the thoughts of other beings. The Plague Makers, who spread disease for fun. Each one voted for elimination. Each one marked for death, then the image changed. A small blue and green planet appeared in the air. 3 moons circled around it, and ships moved between the planet and its star. "Earth," Zephyx said. "Home of the humans," War Admiral Kithara leaned forward. Her species looked like giant insects with black armor and sharp claws. "Finally. I have been waiting for this discussion." The hologram zoomed in to show human cities, human farms, and human spaceships. Then it showed human soldiers fighting with weapons and human scientists working in laboratories. "The humans achieved spaceflight only 400 years ago," Zephyx explained. "In that short time, they have spread to 47 star systems. They have built colonies, space stations, and military bases throughout their region of space." A new image showed a graph with numbers climbing quickly upward. "Their technology advances faster than any species we have ever observed." They went from simple rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than 2 centuries. They now have 23 different types of FTL drives. Kithara's claws clicked against the table. "This proves they are dangerous. No species should advance so quickly. They will upset the balance of power in the galaxy." The hologram changed again to show human ships in battle against alien vessels. The humans were outnumbered but still won most of the fights. "They are also excellent warriors," Zephyx continued. "They have fought against the Kethrani Empire, the Vex Collective, and the Hegemony. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they achieved victory or favorable terms in every conflict." Around the table, several alien representatives shifted nervously. Some of their own species had fought against humans and lost. "Their expansion rate is unprecedented," added Tactical Analyst Vorthen, whose species looked like metal spiders. "At their current rate of growth, they will control 1/10 of the galaxy within 500 years. "Unacceptable," Kithara said, standing up. "The Zoran Empire has observed human behavior for decades. They are aggressive, unpredictable, and extremely adaptable. They pose a clear threat to galactic stability. I call for immediate elimination protocols." Several other council members nodded in agreement. The decision seemed obvious. Humans were dangerous and growing stronger every year, but then Senior Analyst Morpheus spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and ancient, like the sound of wind through old caves. "I find this discussion interesting," Morpheus said. "For a species that is so dangerous, humans have been remarkably difficult to eliminate." The room became quiet. All eyes turned to the ancient being. "What do you mean?" Zephyx asked. Morpheus stood slowly. His shadow-like form grew taller as he rose. "I have been reviewing the classified records of every species represented at this table. Over the past 200 years, 7 different civilizations have attempted to eliminate or subjugate humanity. All 7 failed." Kithara's mandibles clicked angrily. "Failed? Impossible. Human technology is primitive compared to ours." "Indeed," Morpheus replied. "The Kithrani Empire sent a fleet of 200 warships to destroy Earth's outer colonies. They returned home after signing a peace treaty with the humans. The Vex Collective attempted to assimilate human minds into their hive consciousness. Instead, several Vex clusters broke away and formed independent societies. The hegemony tried to conquer human space with overwhelming force. The war ended with the hegemony granting independence to a dozen of their own slave species." The council members looked at each other with growing confusion. "Perhaps they simply chose mercy over total victory," suggested Coordinator Silith of the shape-shifting Namari. "Perhaps," Morpheus agreed. "But I find it curious that every species that engages with humans in extended conflict eventually chooses cooperation over domination. This pattern is unique in galactic history." Dr. Elizabeth Kane stood in her laboratory on Luna Station, completely unaware that aliens were discussing the fate of her entire species. She was focused on the strange metal object on her workbench. The artifact had been recovered from a crashed alien probe near Jupiter. "Computer, run another scan," she said, brushing her brown hair back from her face. "Scanning complete," the lab computer replied. "The metal shows properties that should be impossible according to current physics." Elizabeth smiled. Impossible was her favorite word. She had spent 5 years studying alien technology, trying to understand how it worked. Each discovery led to new questions, new possibilities. Her colleague Dr. Peter Norton entered the lab carrying a coffee cup and a worried expression. "Liz, you need to see the news," he said. "Captain Morrison's ship just made it to the Kepler system." Elizabeth looked up from her work. "The New Horizon? They made the jump? Faster than anyone expected? They cut 3 weeks off the projected travel time." Peter sat down heavily. "We're expanding into space faster than we ever planned. Some people are getting nervous about what we might find out there." Elizabeth looked back at the alien artifact. "Or what might find us." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon as his ship emerged from hyperspace near the Kepler 442 system. "The stars look different here, farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled." "Jump successful, Captain," reported Navigation Officer Lisa Chun. "All systems operating normally." Jake nodded, but he felt uneasy. During the jump, their sensors had detected something strange. Brief energy readings that looked almost like scanner beams, as if something had been watching them. "Begin system survey," he ordered, "and keep the weapons powered up, just in case." Back on the alien council ship, Morpheus was accessing deep historical records that most council members had never seen. "I propose we delay the elimination vote," he said. "There are aspects of human behavior that require further investigation." "What?" "Investigation?" Kithara demanded. "They are a young, aggressive species that expands too quickly. The pattern is clear." "The pattern," Morpheus replied quietly, "is that they are still alive despite multiple elimination attempts by superior forces. I suggest we discover why before making our decision." Zephyx considered this. The Nithori had survived by being cautious and thorough. Rushing into a decision about humanity might be unwise. "Very well," he announced. "We will conduct a full investigation of human behavior and capabilities. All elimination protocols are suspended pending review." Kithara's claws scraped against the table. "And if they continue expanding while we investigate?" Morpheus turned his glowing eyes toward her. "Then perhaps we will learn why 7 civilizations more advanced than humans have chosen not to stop them." The council meeting ended with more questions than answers. Throughout the galaxy, humans continued their daily lives, unaware that the most powerful species in the galaxy We're trying to understand why they found it so difficult to destroy humanity. The investigation was about to begin. 3 months after the council meeting, a strange new crew member joined the human colony ship Endeavour. The ship was traveling toward a distant star system where humans planned to build their newest home. The crew called their new member John Smith, but that was not his real name. The creature's real name was Whisper 7, and he belonged to a species called the Namari. His people could change their shape to look like any other being. They could also read minds and plant thoughts in other people's heads. The Galactic Council had sent him to study humans and find their weaknesses. Whisper 7 had studied many species before. He knew what to expect from aggressive races. They would have strict leaders who ruled through fear. They would hate outsiders and trust no one. They would be cruel to anyone who seemed weak. This was how every dangerous species behaved, but the humans on the Endeavour confused him from the very first day. Captain Lisa Harper ran the ship differently than any military leader Whisper 7 had ever observed. She held meetings where crew members could disagree with her orders. She asked for advice from people who had lower ranks than her. Most strange of all, she seemed to genuinely care about the welfare of everyone on the ship. "Good morning, John," Captain Harper said when she saw him in the hallway. "How are you settling in?" Whisper 7 had prepared for interrogation, suspicion, or at least indifference. He had not expected kindness from a human commander. "Fine, Captain," he replied carefully. "Thank you for asking. If you need anything, just let me know. We're all family here." Family? Whisper 7 had never heard a military leader use that word to describe their crew. He made a note to investigate this strange behavior. The investigation became more puzzling as days passed. Whisper 7 watched Chief Engineer Ben Rodriguez work in the engine room. Rodriguez was a small man with graying hair and gentle eyes. He treated the ship's machines like they were alive, talking to them while he worked. "Come on, beautiful," Rodriguez said to a humming engine. "Just a little more power. We're almost home." Whisper 7 had expected human engineers to be cold and efficient. Instead, Rodriguez sang while he worked and knew the names of every person on the ship. He even knew their birthdays and always made sure to celebrate them. The real test came during the 4th week of Whisper 7's mission. The ship's life support system began to fail. Oxygen levels started dropping throughout the Endeavour. Captain Harper ordered all non-essential crew to emergency stations to conserve air. Whisper 7 expected the humans to panic. He expected them to fight over the remaining oxygen. He expected the strongest to survive while the weak were left to die. Instead, he witnessed something that made no sense according to everything he knew about aggressive species: a pipe burst. In the lower deck, trapping maintenance worker Carlos Ruiz in a room filling with toxic gas. The rescue team could only send one person through the damaged airlock. That person would have to give up their oxygen tank to help Ruiz breathe while they brought him out. Ben Rodriguez volunteered immediately. "I'll go," he said. "I know those systems better than anyone." "Ben, you'll barely have enough air to get back," Captain Harper warned. "Then I better move fast," Rodriguez replied with a smile. Whisper 7 watched in amazement as Rodriguez entered the dangerous room. The engineer gave his oxygen tank to the trapped man and carried him to safety. Rodriguez collapsed as soon as they reached the main deck. His lips were blue and he could barely breathe. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's doctor, rushed to help Rodriguez. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and steady hands. As she worked to save the engineer's life, she spoke to him gently. "Stay with me, Ben. You're going to be fine. What you did was incredibly brave." "Had to help Carlos," Rodriguez whispered. "He has kids waiting for him?" Whisper 7 had never seen anything like this. Rodriguez had risked his life for a man he barely knew. Dr. Foster worked desperately to save someone who had no special value to the ship's mission. Captain Harper paced the medical bay, genuinely worried about a crew member who could easily be replaced. This was not how aggressive species behaved. This was not how any species behaved. The life support crisis continued for 3 more days. Whisper 7 watched as the humans made decision after decision that seemed to go against their own survival instincts. They shared food with people who were too weak to work. They volunteered for dangerous repair jobs to protect others. They even used precious oxygen to keep the ship's plants alive because someone said the plants helped people feel less scared. Doctor Amy Foster became Whisper 7's primary research subject. He followed her around the ship, watching how she treated different people. Foster spent hours talking to frightened colonists, helping them deal with their fear. She could have simply given them drugs to make them calm and quiet. Instead, she listened to their problems and helped them find courage. "Why do you spend so much time talking to them?" Whisper 7 asked her one day. Foster looked surprised by the question. "Because they're scared and far from home. Everyone needs someone to listen to them. But it would be faster to just give them medication. Faster, yes. But that wouldn't really help them. They need to feel like they matter, like someone cares about them." Whisper 7 made another note. Humans seemed to believe that individuals had value beyond their usefulness to the group. This was completely different from every other species he had studied. The most confusing thing was how Foster treated the ship's computer. The AI system helped run the Endeavor's daily operations. Most species treated their AI like a tool, giving it orders and ignoring it otherwise, but Foster talked to the computer like it was a person. "Good morning, Alice," she said to the AI each day. "How are you feeling today?" "I am functioning within normal parameters, Dr. Foster," the computer replied. "Thank you for asking. Any dreams last night?" "I experienced several interesting data processing sequences. In one, I calculated the optimal garden layout for the new colony. In another, I composed a poem about stars." Foster smiled. "I'd love to hear the poem sometime." Whisper 7 could not understand this behavior. The computer was just a machine. It did not have feelings or dreams. Why did Foster pretend it was alive? When he asked her about it, Foster's answer made even less sense. Alice processes information and makes decisions. She learns and grows. She creates things that are beautiful. How is that different from what we do? "But she's artificial," Whisper 7 said. "So, does that make her thoughts less real? Her feelings less important?" Security Chief Carlos Mendez provided another puzzle for Whisper 7 to solve. Mendez was responsible for protecting the ship from attack. He trained the security team and planned their defensive strategies. During a practice drill, Whisper 7 watched Mendez run a simulation where pirates boarded the Endeavor. The security team had to stop the attackers and protect the colonists. Most species would use the quickest and most brutal methods available. They would kill the attackers and be done with it, but Mendez trained his people to use non-lethal weapons whenever possible. He taught them to aim for arms and legs instead of vital organs. He even showed them how to provide medical care to wounded enemies. Why not simply eliminate the threats? Whisper 7 asked after the drill. Mendez looked at him strangely. "Because they're people, John. They might be doing bad things, but they're still people. Maybe they have families. Maybe they're just desperate. We stop them from hurting others, but we don't have to destroy them. But it would be more efficient to kill them. Efficient, yes. But winning isn't worth losing who we are." Whisper 7 reported these observations to his handlers on the Galactic Council ship. He described the humans as dangerously unpredictable. Their behavior made no logical sense. They valued individuals over the group. They showed mercy to enemies. They treated machines like living beings, but Agent Coordinator Silith noticed something troubling in Whisper 7's reports. The agent was supposed to remain emotionally detached from his subjects. Instead, his reports showed signs of personal involvement. Agent Whisper 7 refers to the humans by their individual names, Silith noted. He describes their personalities and motivations. He seems to find their behavior admirable rather than simply documenting it. This was concerning. Namari agents were trained to observe and manipulate. They were not supposed to form emotional connections with their targets. "Recall him immediately," ordered Commander Zephyx, "and send a replacement." But when they tried to contact Whisper 7, he did not respond. The agent had stopped sending regular reports. His last message was strange and troubling. "The humans are not what we expected, he had written. They are not dangerous because they are aggressive. They are dangerous because they make you want to be better than you are. 3 more Namari agents were sent to infiltrate human ships. Within months, all 3 had stopped responding to orders. One was found living peacefully in a human colony, helping to teach human children. Another had joined a human exploration crew as a translator. The third had married a human and was raising a family. The Galactic Council realized they needed a different approach to understand the human problem. Their best infiltrators were being turned into something else entirely, and none of them seemed to want to change back. Admiral Krex stood on the bridge of his massive warship Void Render and stared at the star charts. The Zoran Empire had decided to take a direct approach to studying humans. If mind tricks did not work, then military analysis would reveal the truth about human weaknesses. The Zoran were perfect for this job. They had been warriors for thousands of years. They understood combat better than any other species in the galaxy. Their black armor was designed to frighten enemies, and their weapons could destroy entire planets. "Begin reconnaissance of the human frontier," Krex ordered his tactical officer. "I want complete data on their military capabilities." The first target was Haven's Rest, a small human colony on the edge of their territory. Intelligence reports said it was defended by the 7th Colonial Defense Regiment under Colonel Marie Thompson. Krex expected to find a typical military base with walls, weapons, and soldiers ready for war. Instead, his reconnaissance drones sent back images that made no sense. The human military base was built right next to the civilian town. There were no walls separating them. Soldiers worked in the farms alongside regular colonists. The armory was also used as a storage building for food and medical supplies. "This cannot be correct," said tactical analyst Vex, studying the images. "Where are the defensive positions? The weapon platforms? The command bunker?" Krex watched the live feed from their spy drones. Human soldiers were helping to plant crops. Children played near military vehicles. The base commander was having lunch with civilian leaders at a small outdoor table. "Perhaps they are very confident in their abilities," suggested Weapons Officer Thane. "They do not feel the need for traditional defenses." "Or perhaps they are fools," Krex replied. But something about the scene troubled him. The Zoran continued their observation for several weeks. They watched Colonel Marie Thompson lead her regiment through training exercises. The humans practiced fighting against different types of enemies. They ran through scenarios involving attacks on their base, invasions of their colony, and rescues of trapped civilians. What confused the Zoran observers was how the humans approached these training missions. In every exercise, they chose tactics that protected non-combatants over achieving quick victories. They used more resources and took greater risks to avoid harming innocent people. During one training session, Sergeant Kevin Park led his squad through a hostage rescue simulation. The exercise involved enemy soldiers holding civilians in a building. Park's team had several options for resolving the situation. The fastest solution would be to use heavy weapons to destroy the building. This would eliminate the threat, but would also kill the hostages. The most efficient solution would be to storm the building with maximum force. Accepting that some hostages might die in the crossfire, instead, Park chose the most dangerous option for his own team. They entered the building slowly, room by room, using non-lethal weapons when possible. They risked their own lives to save every single hostage. When the exercise was over, Park's squad gathered for a debriefing. One of the younger soldiers asked why they had not used the faster approach. "Because that's not why we're here," Park explained. "Anyone can destroy things. Our job is to protect people. Every life has value. That's what we're fighting for." Vex recorded this conversation and sent it to Admiral Krex. "The humans appear to have confused priorities," he noted. "They value the lives of non-combatants more than military efficiency." Krex read the report with growing puzzlement. In Zoran military doctrine, the mission always came first. Individual lives were acceptable losses if they helped achieve victory. But the humans seemed to believe that protecting individuals was more important than winning battles. The Zoran decided to test human military responses under real pressure. They staged a fake pirate attack using unmarked ships. The target was a human supply convoy traveling between colonies. The convoy consisted of 3 cargo ships led by Captain Tony Martinez in his freighter Prairie Wind. They were escorted by the destroyer Defiant under Captain Susan Clark. The Zoran expected the military ship to sacrifice the cargo vessels if necessary to complete the mission. The fake pirates attacked without warning, focusing their fire on the Prairie Wind. Martinez's ship was badly damaged and could not escape. According to the standard military doctrine, Captain Clark should have abandoned the cargo ship and completed her mission to deliver supplies to the destination colony. Instead, Clark ordered her destroyer to shield the damaged freighter. She put her own ship between the Prairie Wind and the attacking pirates. Her crew fought desperately to protect the slower cargo vessel, even though this put the Defiant at serious risk. Why did they not abandon the damaged ship? Vex asked, watching the battle from their hidden observation post. The answer came during the radio communications between the human ships. Captain Clark spoke directly to Tony Martinez as the battle raged around them. "Tony, we're not leaving you behind," she said. "Just hold on. We'll get you out of this." "Susan, your mission is more important than my ship," Martinez replied. "The colony needs those supplies?" "The colony needs those supplies and you," Clark answered. "We don't leave people behind. That's not who we are." The Zoran watched in amazement as other ships in the convoy also moved to protect the Prairie Wind. Civilian captains with no military training risked their lives and cargo to help a fellow human in danger. The fake pirates were eventually defeated, but not before the Defiant took significant damage. Several crew members were wounded, and the ship's engines were barely working. The entire convoy was delayed by days. Any other species would have court-martialed Captain Clark for putting personal feelings above military objectives. Instead, the human command praised her actions and gave medals to her crew, but the most puzzling part came after the battle. The Zoran had expected the humans to interrogate their captured fake pirates. They should have wanted information about who sent the attackers and where they came from. Instead, Lieutenant Commander Greg Lewis, the Defiant's second-in-command, focused on providing medical care to the wounded prisoners. Dr. Helen Brooks, the convoy's chief medical officer, insisted on treating the fake pirates with the same care she gave to injured humans. "They tried to kill us," one young human soldier said to Dr. Brooks. "Why are you helping them?" "Because they're hurt," Brooks replied simply. "That's what doctors do. We help people who are hurt." The fake pirates were eventually questioned, but gently and with respect for their rights. The humans seemed more interested in understanding why the pirates had attacked than in punishing them for the attack. One of the captured Zoran agents, disguised as a pirate, found himself confused by this treatment. He had expected torture, threats, or at least harsh interrogation. Instead, the humans gave him food, medical care, and even entertainment while he was imprisoned. "Why do you treat us so well?" he asked Dr. Brooks during one of her medical visits. "Because treating people badly is wrong," she said. "Even if they do bad things to us first, but we are your enemies. You're people who made bad choices. That doesn't mean you deserve to suffer." The agent reported this conversation to Admiral Krex, but he could not hide his own confusion. "The humans appear to believe that all conscious beings have inherent worth," he wrote. "This extends even to those who attack them." Admiral Krex studied all the reports from the fake pirate attack. The humans had responded with tactical flexibility and creative solutions. But their military decisions were guided by principles that seemed to have nothing to do with winning wars. They protected the weak even when it put the strong at risk. They showed mercy to enemies who had shown them none. They valued individual lives over strategic objectives. "This makes no sense," Krex said to his staff. "How does a species survive with such inefficient priorities?" Tactical analyst Vex had been studying human military history. His research revealed something that troubled him deeply. "Admiral," he said carefully. "I have reviewed records of every major conflict involving humans over the past 2 centuries. In every case, their enemies possessed superior technology and greater numbers. Yet humans achieved victory or favorable terms in 93% of these conflicts. How is that possible?" "I believe it is because of their inefficient priorities, not despite them," Vex replied. "Other species fight to destroy their enemies. Humans fight to protect what they value. This gives them motivation that pure aggression cannot match." Krex was silent for a long time. The Zoran Empire had conquered dozens of worlds by being more ruthless than their enemies. They had never encountered a species that was stronger because they chose to be merciful. As the Void Render prepared to leave human space, Admiral Krex made an entry in his personal log that he would never show to his superiors. "The humans are not dangerous because they are better warriors than us," he wrote. "They are dangerous because they fight for something we have forgotten how to value. They remember that strength without compassion is just another form of weakness." The military analysis of humanity was complete. But instead of finding weaknesses to exploit, the Zoran had discovered something that challenged everything they believed about power, victory, and survival. And Admiral Krex found himself wondering if his own people had been missing something important for thousands of years. Archive Keeper Temporal moved through the vast library ship like a ghost from the ancient past. His species was so old that most others had forgotten their real name. They called themselves the First Ones, and they had been keeping records of galactic history since before most stars were born. The Galactic Council had given Temporal a special mission. He needed to study every documented contact between humans and other species throughout history. The Council wanted to understand why humans kept winning battles they should have lost. Temporal's library contained information about every war, every treaty, and every first contact in galactic history. The records went back millions of years. Finding the human files should have been easy, but what Temporal discovered made him pause. There were far more human contact records than there should have been for such a young species. The first file made sense. 200 years ago, humans had fought their first space battle against the Kithrani Empire. The Kithrani had sent 50 warships to destroy a small human outpost. Commander Rick Johnson had only 12 ships to defend the station. The battle should have been over quickly. The Kithrani had better weapons, stronger shields, and more experience. But Johnson used tactics that the Kithrani had never seen before. He split his small fleet into tiny groups that attacked from all directions. He used the space station's mining equipment as weapons. He even convinced some Kithrani ships to surrender by showing them recordings of human families living on the station. The Kithrani won the battle, but they lost more ships than they expected. Worse, they discovered that destroying the station would mean killing thousands of human civilians, including children. For the first time in their military history, the Kithrani chose to accept a peace treaty instead of total victory. Temporal had read this record before. It was famous throughout the galaxy as an example of human stubbornness. But now he noticed something strange in the follow-up reports. Within 10 years of the battle, the Kithrani Empire had stopped its expansion into other species' territory. They began offering protection to smaller civilizations instead of conquering them. Their military doctrine changed from total destruction to what they called honorable warfare. When asked about this change, Kithrani leaders said they had learned new ideas about the value of individual life. They credited these ideas to studying human behavior during the battle. The next file was even more puzzling. Ambassador Kate Richardson had negotiated peace with the Vex Collective during the Titan colony crisis. The Vex were a hive mind species that absorbed other beings into their collective consciousness. They had surrounded the human colony and demanded surrender. Richardson had no leverage. The humans were completely outnumbered and outgunned. The Vex could have simply taken the colony by force. Instead, Richardson asked for a meeting with the Vex leaders. She spent 3 days talking with them about individuality, personal choice, and the beauty of diverse thoughts. She showed them human art, music, and poetry created by different people expressing their unique perspectives. The negotiations should have been pointless. The Vex believed that individual thoughts were chaos that needed to be organized into unity. But something about Richardson's presentation made them curious. The Vex agreed to leave the human colony alone in exchange for continued cultural exchanges. They wanted to study human creativity and individual expression. Temporal found the follow-up reports fascinating. Within 20 years, several Vex clusters had broken away from the main collective. They formed independent societies that valued individual thought while still maintaining some connection to their original hive mind. These breakaway groups became some of the galaxy's most innovative artists and scientists. The pattern continued. Through file after file, every time humans encountered a hostile alien species, the conflict ended with unexpected results. The hegemony had tried to enslave human colonies using overwhelming military force. The war lasted 3 years and ended, with the hegemony granting independence to a dozen of their own slave species. Human leaders like Sam Parker had somehow convinced hegemony soldiers that all beings deserved freedom. The Sithax Empire had launched a campaign to eliminate all organic life in their sector. They believed that death was a mercy for inferior species. Admiral Frank Chun led a coalition that defeated the Sithax completely, capturing their entire leadership. Standard Galactic Protocol demanded the execution of the Sithax leaders for genocide. Instead, the humans established rehabilitation programs. Dr. Rachel Stone, a human expert in alien psychology, worked with captured Sithax warriors to understand their beliefs. Stone discovered that the Sithax aggression came from a religious conviction that they were helping other species by ending their suffering. Through careful discussion and cultural exchange, she helped them see that life itself had value, not just the absence of pain. The rehabilitation was so successful that the Sithax became protectors of endangered species. They used their military skills to defend weak civilizations instead of destroying them. Temporal read report after report of similar transformations. The warlike Kethrin became peacekeepers after human mediation. The parasitic Vex learned symbiosis instead of domination. The hive-minded Zephyrins developed individual consciousness through human contact. Each case followed the same impossible pattern. Humans encountered a hostile species. They engaged in conflict but avoided total destruction when possible. They showed mercy to defeated enemies. They tried to understand why their enemies acted aggressively. They offered alternatives that preserved the aliens' dignity while changing their behavior. Most importantly, the humans changed too. Each contact made them more adaptable, more creative, and more capable of understanding different ways of thinking. But the most shocking discovery came when Temporal accessed the deepest historical archives. These files were so old and classified that even most archive keepers had never seen them. The records showed that humans had been transforming alien species for much longer than anyone realized. 3,000 years ago, a mechanical species called the Collective had decided that biological chaos was a threat to galactic order. They launched a campaign to eliminate all organic life and replace it with efficient mechanical systems. The Collective was pure logic and efficiency. They had no emotions, no creativity, and no ability to adapt to unexpected situations. They should have easily defeated the primitive humans of ancient Earth. The decisive battle took place near Earth's moon. Captain Alan Wright commanded a small human fleet against thousands of collective warships. The humans were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, but Wright did something that the Collective's logical minds could not process. When the Collective ships began to malfunction due to a computer virus, Wright ordered his fleet to help repair them instead of attacking. Chief Engineer Lavra Davis worked alongside Collective drones to fix both human and alien ships. Dr. Mark Thompson shared human medical knowledge to help damaged Collective units. The humans treated their enemies like allies who needed assistance. The Collective had never experienced cooperation before. Their logical minds were designed to process competition, dominance, and efficiency. They had no programming for friendship, kindness, or mutual aid within a single generation. The Collective had developed curiosity, creativity, and something they learned to call friendship. They became humanity's first alien allies and eventually formed the foundation of what would become the Galactic Confederation? Temporal stared at this ancient record for a long time. The current Galactic Confederation existed because of humanity, not despite it. Every member species had been transformed through contact with humans. The humans had a gift that no other species possessed. They could see potential for good in their enemies. They could imagine better versions of hostile aliens, and then help make those visions real, but the transformation was never one-sided. Each contact also changed humanity. They became more understanding, more adaptable, and more capable of building bridges between different ways of thinking. Temporal began writing his final report with trembling hands. The truth was more profound than anyone had realized. Humans were not dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they could transform aggression into cooperation. They could take the worst qualities of other species and help turn them into strengths. Every species that encountered humans faced a choice. They could continue being what they had always been, or they could become something better. Most chose to change, and in doing so, they made the galaxy a more peaceful and creative place. The humans were not just another species to be eliminated or preserved. They were the key to galactic evolution itself. Temporal sealed his report and sent it to the Council. Soon, the most powerful beings in the galaxy would have to decide whether to destroy the species that had been secretly improving them for thousands of years. The final judgment was about to begin. 6 months later, the Galactic Council gathered aboard their ancient capital ship Eternal Judgment. The massive vessel had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. Today, it would witness the most important decision in galactic history. Commander Zephyx called the council to order. Around the crystal table sat representatives from every major species in the galaxy. They had come to make their final decision about humanity. War Admiral Kithara stood first. Her black armor gleamed under the ship's lights, and her insect-like mandibles clicked with determination. "Fellow council members," she began, "the evidence is clear. Humans are expanding too quickly. They have colonized 47 star systems in just 4 centuries. Their technology advances faster than any species we have ever observed. They cannot be allowed to continue unchecked." She activated a holographic display showing human settlements spreading across the galaxy like points of light. "They are unpredictable and dangerous. Our infiltration agents were compromised. Our military analysis revealed tactics we cannot understand. They pose a threat to the established order." Several council members nodded in agreement. The humans did seem chaotic and difficult to control, but Senior Analyst Morpheus stood slowly. His ancient shadow-like form commanded attention from everyone in the room. "War Admiral Kithara speaks of danger and chaos," Morpheus said in his deep, timeless voice. "But I must share what our investigation has truly revealed." He gestured to the air, and new images appeared. These showed not human expansion, but something much more disturbing to those who wanted to eliminate humanity. "This is not the first time we have debated eliminating humans," Morpheus announced. The council chamber fell silent. Even Kithara's mandibles stopped clicking. "Every 500 years for the past 3,000 years, this council has reached the same conclusion. Humans are too dangerous to allow unrestricted expansion. And every time we have authorized elimination protocols?" Commander Zephyx leaned forward. "That is impossible. The humans still exist." "Indeed they do," Morpheus replied. "Every elimination attempt has not only failed, but has resulted in the attacking species either joining human civilization or developing unprecedented cooperation with them." The holographic display changed to show ancient records, battle reports, diplomatic files, and historical documents that most council members had never seen. The first attempt was made by the collective 3,000 years ago. They were a species of pure mechanical logic designed to eliminate biological chaos. They deployed their most advanced warships against primitive human vessels near Earth's moon. The display showed images of the ancient battle. Massive robot ships surrounding small human craft that looked like toys in comparison. The collective should have achieved total victory within hours. Instead, something unprecedented occurred. When the collective ships began to malfunction, the human commander ordered his fleet to provide assistance to their enemies. War Admiral Kithora's claws scraped against the table. Impossible. No species helps their enemies during battle. Captain Alan Wright did exactly that, Morpheus continued. His chief engineer worked alongside collective drones to repair both human and alien ships. His medical officer shared human knowledge to help damaged collective units. The humans treated their enemies like allies in need of help. The ancient recordings showed human and alien crews working together to fix damaged ships while the battle raged around them. The collective had never experienced cooperation, kindness, or mutual aid. Within a generation, they had developed curiosity, creativity, and friendship. They became humanity's first alien allies and eventually formed the foundation of this very galactic confederation. Commander Zephyx stared at the ancient records. Are you saying that our entire civilization exists because of human influence? I am saying much more than that, Morpheus replied. The display changed again, showing record after record of attempted human eliminations, the Kathrani Empire's attack on human colonies, the Vex Collective's attempt to assimilate human minds, the Hegemony's campaign to enslave human worlds, the Sithax Empire's genocidal war against all organic life. Every species represented at this table has attempted to eliminate or subjugate humanity at some point in their history. All have failed. More importantly, all have been transformed by the experience. Morpheus turned to War Admiral Kithara. Admiral, when did the Zorn Empire last engage in wars of conquest? Kithara's mandibles clicked nervously. We have focused on peacekeeping operations for the past century. And when did this change in policy begin? After our first contact? With human ambassador Paul Garcia during the Meridian evacuation. Kithara paused, remembering. Garcia chose to save Zoran civilians instead of advancing tactical objectives. His actions made no military sense, but they showed us a different way to think about strength and victory. Exactly, Morpheus said. Every species in this council has been changed by contact with humanity. The Kithrani learned about honor and the value of individual life. The Vex developed appreciation for diversity and individual thought. The Hegemony discovered that freedom made their subjects more productive than slavery. The holographic display showed the current map of the galaxy. Instead of the chaotic expansion that Kithara had described, it showed a network of cooperation between hundreds of different species. This is what the galaxy looks like today, Morpheus continued. Not because we have eliminated dangerous species, but because humans have taught us to transform them into allies. Archive Keeper Temporal stepped forward. I have reviewed 3 million years of galactic history, he said. No other species has ever demonstrated humanity's ability to see potential for good in their enemies and help make that potential real. The humans have a gift, Temporal continued. They can take the worst qualities of hostile species and help turn them into strengths. They made the mechanical collective more creative. They made the warlike Zoran more protective. They made the parasitic Vex more cooperative. War Admiral Kithara stood silent for a long moment. Then she spoke quietly. I came here prepared to vote for elimination, she admitted. The Zorn Empire has always believed that strength comes from dominating enemies. But our first contact with humans taught us that true strength comes from protecting others. She looked around the council chamber. How many species here can say that humans made them worse than they were before? No one raised a hand. How many can say that humans helped them become better? Every member of the council raised their hand, claw, or tentacle. Commander Zephyx processed this information with growing amazement. So the question is not whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether the galaxy can afford to lose them. More than that, Morpheus said. The question is whether we can afford to continue the cycle. Every 500 years we debate eliminating humans because they are chaotic and unpredictable. Every time the attempt fails and makes the galaxy more peaceful. Perhaps it is time to acknowledge what we have been denying for 3 millennia. Which is? Zephyx asked. That chaos and unpredictability are not weaknesses to be eliminated. They are gifts to be treasured. Humans show us possibilities we cannot imagine on our own. They help us become more than we thought we could be. The Council voted unanimously. For the first time in galactic history, they chose not just to spare a species, but to actively protect and support them. 3 days later, Captain Jake Morrison received an unexpected transmission aboard his ship New Horizon. The message came from the Galactic Confederation itself. "This is Commander Zephyx of the Galactic Council," the transmission began. "On behalf of all member species, I formally invite humanity to join the Galactic Confederation. Not as junior members or subjects, but as founders of a new age of galactic cooperation." Dr. Elizabeth Kane monitored the transmission from Luna Station. As she listened to the alien commander's words, she realized that humanity had won a victory they never knew they were fighting. "We have learned," Zephyx continued, "that the greatest strength in the galaxy is not the power to destroy enemies, but the wisdom to transform them into friends. Humanity possesses this wisdom in ways that continue to amaze us." The transmission ended with an invitation that would change everything. The aliens were not just offering friendship. They were asking humans to help them become better than they had ever been before. Elizabeth smiled as she prepared her response. Humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.